Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here for this series on knowledge shared. So I guess we'll just start and introduce ourselves. Carol, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Carol Johnson. I am the president of the American Society of Plumbing Engineers. I work for Edmunds Engineering. I have, 24 years of experience in the plumbing industry as a design engineer.
Very cool. Brian, I'll let you go next.
I'm Brian Henry. I'm the Director of Affiliate Relations for the American Society of Plumbing Engineers. As Charlie well knows, been around the industry for 30 plus years now. So I'm showing my age, I think.
But it's okay. We can do that. I won't tell you how old I am. All right, Billy, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Billy Smith, Executive Director and CEO of the American Society of Plumbing Engineers. Glad to be with you today. I've been in the industry since 1981 in different capacities, and
that's when I was born, Billy.
Oh my goodness!
I'm a baby.
I just dated myself, didn't I?
No, okay. I think I dated mine. No one's going to listen anymore since I'm on here.
We're excited to be here and good to talk with you today.
Yeah, and I wanted to just note to everyone, why plumbing engineers are important. And, I came to visit your, location there in Chicago once and got to see kind of the training room and just the importance of plumbing was really clear to me. But who wants to take that one? What is, plumbing engineer? Why is that important?
Well, I think that can be something that Carol and I can do together there. But, just looking at ASPE as a whole, the American Society of Plumbing Engineers, and, the importance of what the plumbing engineer designer does for our industry. Our primary goal at ASPE is to protect the health, welfare, and the safety of the public at large on a global basis in all the facilities that people work in, live in, entertainment, healthcare. There's just so much that plumbing engineers are touching through their everyday lives. What they do is really so important, from below ground to the very top of the facility, whatever it might be. And people just don't realize, I think, the importance of what the plumbing engineer and designers do to protect you and I. Just the simplest thing of going and getting a glass of water to drink. Carol, you want to add to that, Carol?
Oh, sure. On a day-to-day basis, from a plumbing engineering standpoint, we will design and provide systems in buildings, everything from your sanitary to your domestic water, but also your compressed gases. We'll take care of any of your waste, and for a majority of us, we also take care of the fire protection systems. So the key component from a plumbing engineering standpoint for us is public health and maintaining healthy building design for people to be able to occupy buildings and buildings to be operated safely.
Yeah, I think that we miss that a lot of the times, that safety aspect of our water. And, we just expect it to come out of the pipe and go away and everything be fine. And we take that for granted. One thing that I've been noticing, just that you've been, as an organization, really, I guess, put to the forefront, is educating young professionals and, women in plumbing as well. And I think that that's, just a testament to building that workforce, right? So, I guess, right. What's next in those two areas? What do you see on the horizon there for workforce development?
Well, I think from a, that's an industry hot button, period, workforce development. Whether we're talking specifically to ASPE with the plumbing engineer professional, continuing to grow our membership, but also educating people. It's been so important, the initiatives that we've put forth over the last years with the AYP and the WOA. And it's interesting, I remember in the 2010 to date, over the last 10 years, just looking at the median age of our membership was continuing to grow. You were joking with me earlier about how old I am and how young you are, just because I mentioned what year I came into the industry. We saw that continuing to grow with our membership. So a couple of initiatives, the AYP, Ashby Young Professional, and the WOA Women of Ashby, those have been so important to growth of our society, but also lowering that median age. It's been interesting to see how quickly that has dropped. So it's been so important to get more of the young people in our industry involved with Ashby in educating themselves, preparing their careers for the long term, not just, I want it today. What can I do? Where can I get the resources I need to support my career long term in the plumbing, engineering, design profession? So Ashby's been a great resource for the young people. But again, really importantly, reaching out to women in our industry. And we're seeing more and more women take on leadership roles at our chapter level, all of our committees. And just look who our president is. Not only the first woman president, the youngest president. Isn't that interesting?
I think it's great. Yeah, Carol, how is that? How's it, joining this industry and jumping in as president?
Well, it was a 20-year trek to the top, so to speak. But it's been a very good experience. I think it's actually highlighted our industry a little bit. There's been a lot of outreach and people wanting to speak with us and discuss what's going on in the plumbing industry, and a lot of it seems to be for all the things that we are doing, especially with the AYP and the WOA. I think they both have been very successful programs with us. Even the WOA actually has a outreach that actually includes like the Girl Scouts. So when we're outreaching at even a secondary and a primary education level to continue to grow the interest in what we're doing in plumbing design.
Yeah,
but for me, the experience has been really good from, being able to move forward and lead this organization.
Well, I thank you for doing it. We love to have role models in the space, and I just had an interview on the Empowering Industry podcast with Judeline Cassidy, which is the feminist plumber, and she is really, really great to talk to, because she talks about having those young girls come in and play with the equipment and learn and really see themselves in that role. And I think it's important to note that if we have more diversity, including women, it also leads to other diversity, just in general. And I think that inclusion is necessary. Understanding somebody who's not like you is definitely important to teach and train. And we see that kind of an initiative leading through women right now. But what about as far as the young professionals coming in? And I'm also going to, bring Brian in here to ask him, are people supporting the programs around that too, sending their young professionals to the events?
Oh, I think so, Charlie. I think we're seeing more and more, especially at our events, say Convention Expo or our technical symposiums that we do. They're seeing the value in attending those from an educational standpoint, but also from a networking standpoint as well, to really begin to glean knowledge from some of the mentors that they have that have been in the industry for some time. So I think they're seeing the value, and their employers are seeing the value of them being there.
Yeah.
Billy mentioned too, having been in the industry and been around it for a long time. Age is certainly a major factor. And I think reaching our younger audience is going to be key to not only to Ashby's development through the years, but other associations and even the industry as a whole, because I see, a lot of the older engineers that are starting to retire, some of the major companies that we see out there. And then of course the diversity aspect as well. I just noticed that one of our good friends and pump suppliers has put a woman in place over their operations. So it's moving quickly, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I wanted to just touch on that, bridging the age, I don't know how to say that exactly, but basically, if you take a baby boomer and a millennial and put them together, it's a hard thing for them to communicate, right? But if we have, the middle generation in there helping us bridge that communication. So we have to learn to talk to all people. And if we can facilitate that, and really understand, I say I'm the first year. So 81's kind of like, you're either a millennial or a Gen X. You're not really sure. I was February. So it depends on which, report that you look at. But I understand before we had the iPhone and before we had computers, I remember, doing that in school. And so I also remember newspaper, right? And so you can see that. And then you can also see like, yeah, I need to understand how my kid is communicating on Snapchat. So there's that knowledge that's there that I think we have a good gift of being able to understand both worlds. So looking at that from ASPE's perspective, I can just see they're gaining so much knowledge and experience from being able to hang around people that have been in the industry for 20 plus years. I've been in it for 16 years. So I feel like I'm getting there. I got some knowledge, but just to be able to learn the hands-on from somebody who's done it, I think is really great too. So that brings me to a question on training and how are we going to certify people, and what's the next step for y'all in that, in training and getting those engineers that hands-on that they normally have? What does that look like?
Well, I think
I can take.
Go ahead, Carol. Absolutely.
I was going to say I can take a little part of this because I can actually bridge it with your bridging question. One of the ways that bridging happens between the younger and older generation is your older generation has the knowledge base, but the younger generation has the skill set for the tools that you need these days, like Revit and the softwares that you need to produce drawings and actually engineer documents. So in a firm such as I work in, a consulting firm, we actually work together, and not all engineers actually do their own modeling. So in context, a lot of this is letting them understand the knowledge base and teaching them the knowledge base as you get the information inputted into the software is a huge tool to make people actually communicate together and work together to get things produced in an engineering firm. What is ASPE doing? ASPE is working from an educational perspective. We're actually offering, webinars and technical programs for our members to actually learn not only, the context of the knowledge base, but actually how to input into the software and actually learn how to actually produce work within a company. Go ahead, Billy.
Yeah, I think, Carol, thank you for that input from a engineer working in a firm perspective. Brian and I can talk specifically to operations, what ASPE does for the industry and for our members from an education standpoint and helping grow their career and their knowledge base, making them a more important employee to a firm employer. That's the goal. And we have a really good educational and credentialing program. We have the CPD, Certified in Plumbing Design, CPDT as well, and the GPD. So we have some credentials that people can work towards to help them be a better plumbing engineer and designer. But from the education component, just take what's going on in our industry right now with COVID-19. Everybody is having to work from home, stay at home. And people are concerned about that. How am I going to continue getting my education, improving myself? If I have a credential, how am I going to maintain that? So we've taken steps internally at ASPE and through the board of directors guidance and support in making everything free, from getting CEUs through our online recorded webinars and educational sessions. And we continue to have webinars. We've had a couple this week. I think we've got some coming up. And through our education department and with Pam and Brian working together to go out and get people signed up from the industry to do webinars or workshops. We've had so much success in those. And I'll let Brian touch a little more on this, but our industry supporters from the manufacturer side, they are so important to the success of ASPE, but our members as well, to help support that education process. Many of our wonderful manufacturers step up and sponsor these webinars free to our members. And that's such a benefit to grow. Brian, you want to touch on some more of that and how important we all are as a team?
Yeah, and it's incredible support we get from the manufacturing sector. Having been on that side of the business for nearly 28 years, almost. I'm dating myself now, but yeah, it's important that our manufacturers support us, not only internally, but our manufacturers support our membership through the things that they do as well. They're very supportive financially for us to offer webinars, to offer workshops, to offer those types of things that our engineers can go and get training. But they also are part of our CEU provider program, where they can actually provide those programs at a lunch and learn, or able to go in and sit down, of course, obviously once we get through what we're going through now, to be able to do that. But yeah, the manufacturing sector plays a huge part in what we do and how we're able to educate our membership and even beyond. So yeah, Billy is certainly correct there. It's important that we continue to gather their support.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to your relationship building and network that you've had previously, that they are going to step up and support you now. And we've seen that from our industry. So we're just going to talk about the plumbing industry, right? And all those manufacturers, the people that are doing the work behind the scenes, as this community of people that are going to support and know, like, we can't just stop helping these people get better and leveling up in their jobs. And one thing I wanted to touch on, we mentioned it kind of before the call started, I believe, on, the importance of plumbing and the people doing the work, and knowing, okay, we've been calling them these essential workers, and you're really targeting essential workers, but we're essential all the time, right? Like this
Right.
industry is important all the time. And I think it's great that, we have the ability to kind of highlight our workers, but we have to do it as an industry, because that's not what comes to mind first as far as thanking people for our water and the work that they're doing.
That is so true, Charlie. Having two adult daughters who have seen the industry that I'm in, that each of us are in for so long, I remember the simple things like taking my family out to dinner, and then my wife taking our girls to the bathroom and coming back, and they would notice the fixtures in the bathroom. Dad, is that what you do? Is that part of what you do? They see the drain covers in the floor. And everywhere we go, they were looking at that, wanting to know what's behind the wall, what the purpose it is, and just not realizing, taking for granted, you go out to dinner and then the food's brought to your plate, on your plate to your table. People don't realize what's going on in the kitchen and the things that are prepared there, the after the fact from that. It's called FOG. Fats, oils, and grease. People don't realize there's an acronym just for that, and it's not the fog that you drive through some points. And what the plumbing industry does in designing systems to take all of that and protect you and I, everyone, it's just the simplest things people take for granted. And Carol, being a designer, you could add so much more to that.
Yeah, I do have one thing that I think that's interesting during this COVID experience that we're all having is, during this experience, your plumber is responsible for domestic water. And of course, that's a huge resource. But during this COVID experience, I had calls constantly from hospitals wanting to understand their capacities for oxygen and air, because they're now going beyond their capacities for their ventilators. And how can they get more out of their systems? So we're also responsible for med gases, which in a healthcare crisis, you you are a key person to know how to develop their internal programming to match what the needs are for the public. So not only is it potable water, but it's your medical gases and your sewer systems.
Wow. I didn't
And
realize
hazardous
that.
waste. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and the same thing from an engineering perspective. There was cities that can't do inspections, and some engineering firms had to hire to do city inspections. So we took on another work level to make sure that people could continue to build even in hospitals, because the city couldn't do certain things. So it's just one of those experiences that plumbing takes care of public health in so many ways, not just keeping a building sanitary or potable water, but medical gases and heat. And, there's just a varied assortment of items that you probably never relate to the plumber, but the plumber is responsible for.
Yeah, and getting that education about so that we can advocate for our plumbing industry and all the different opportunities that are there for being able to work in this industry. You're not with us in video today because you're out on the road working. So how do you feel that you're going out and being safe while you're on the road there, Carol?
Well, today I'm actually at UAB, which is a research hospital as well as an education facility. And, we're in mask and we're in a locked building with only the employees and ourselves. So I'm very, very safe. I'm probably one person in 10,000 square feet right now, just taking a call. So there's nobody occupying the buildings that we're in typically unless it's a construction zone. So we have plenty of social distancing to take care of our health issues, but we wear gloves and we wear masks.
Yeah, I was curious. Again, I was talking with Judeline. She's up in New York City, and she was talking about how you have to kind of will yourself to go out and do the work, and know that you're going to be in someone's home or you're going to be in someone's facility. And how do you have to know that you're doing the things that you're supposed to do to be safe, and but the work doesn't stop. These are critical jobs that have to be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, even the LabCorp work, that's a major lab facility, and you're exposed to everything known to man in some of these buildings. And you have to know what your PPE is at all times, even under regular work conditions.
Right. I think we take that for granted too. I'm in media. I just walk around, I'm not really thinking about that as far as even the constant washing of hands after you shake people's hands at trade shows will be something that I'll have to learn. Right. But Billy, I know you were looking to say something else there.
Yeah, I was just talking about the new normal that we're all thinking about, that we're all living and working in right now, but also planning for when things start opening up again. And you just spoke about, Charlie, what is so important. I've been in this industry so long, as you
Sorry, that pointed out.
that when I started in the industry was the year you were born. But it's so important doing what we all do, especially yourself. You talked about being in the media. Brian and I have been in different capacities in this industry forever. Carol's been on the engineering side, but it's so important to build relationships, not just build them, maintain them. And you do that by what you just touched on, being in front of people, shaking their hands, talking to them, looking in their eyes and talking to them, not while looking at a phone and texting while you're communicating with someone else face to face. It's so important of how we've gotten where we are today. So now everyone's trying to figure out, how are we going to do this moving forward? What are our events going to look like?
Right.
And I think it's so important to do things just like you're giving us an opportunity today. So we thank Empowering Pumps for working with us and being willing to do this today, to keep bringing the message, keep educating people. This is our new face-to-face, looking at each other in our eyes without texting at the same time. This is so important to educating people. And so we're enjoying this today, and we'll be glad to keep taking all of your questions. It's just, we're all learning now how to take online, the tool of online and virtual. There is a difference, right, Brian? But
There
these
is.
are important. Online and virtual moving forward is going to be a way for all of us to grow.
Yes.
Our industry, the capacity that we can teach, educate, and learn ourselves. It's a
Well,
great.
you hit on a big topic too, Charlie, is the trade show industry as a whole. And I know that's an industry you are the queen of, I believe.
Well, I love it. I do. I love it.
So, it will be a new normal as to how we participate, how our manufacturers participate. It's going to be an interesting thing going forward to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, and I think we have the, responsibility to figure that out, to see what we can do. So this is an example of how we can get together and share knowledge. And this is the closest that I can get, right, to being able to see you, to understand what's important to you, to read your kind of body language. And so I encourage you when you're on these calls to show your video, right, and have kind of one-on-one videos, and just know, like, okay, you don't have to have the best background or anything like that. People are over that. And if you want to do those cool digital backgrounds, you can do that too. It freaks me out a little bit, so this is good for me. But the big thing is, we've got to learn that. We've got to figure those things out, and we're going to lead in that. We've got some ideas coming up for our Empowering Women in Industry conference that we'll share on the next call, maybe, that, we'll make it interactive, even if it is a virtual or hybrid model that we go to. How can we engage people, and how can we really teach them the things that they need without, being able to touch the equipment. And we'll get there. So I want to thank y'all all. Is there anything else as we've been talking that kind of came up that you want to share?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity. I think we have created a great partnership with Charlie and her team, and we're excited about how we can help one another. And this is just another step in that. So we're more than happy that we have this relationship, and look forward to continuing it even more.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to add the links when we send this out to your webinars and the trainings that you have coming up as well.
Yeah, in closing, from my perspective, I just feel I need to touch on this, the importance of ASPE to anyone that gets into the plumbing engineering profession. The resources we can provide them for education, certifications, credentialing, and just growing their career, especially in a time that we're in right now, not really knowing what's next, what's going to be the new normal. But the importance right now, based on COVID-19 and how long major buildings have been closed.
Mm-hmm.
How do we reopen those buildings now? So the engineering profession is going to be, and is currently, involved in looking at that. How do we ensure the health and safety to employees coming back into those facilities, leaving their homes now, going back into an office building, a medical facility, a sports arena, whatever it might be, just going to the movies on a weekend, just trying to take your family somewhere. How do we manage that process? So the plumbing engineer is going to be very involved in that, along with contractors, inspectors, architects, all of our industry partners that we're so blessed to work with. We're all going to be a part of that. So it's so important that everyone focuses on the health, welfare, and safety of the public, and things like this webinar today.
Yeah, and to that point, with a lot of people who have been laid off or the unemployment that's out there, this is an opportunity to learn some skills and get involved in such an important industry. So I think that that's another point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say, other than I appreciate the opportunity to get our message out. It's been a good experience. And from an industry standpoint, keeping people healthy and the key component being making sure our systems get healthy again, but at all times understanding that these systems do affect you, either in a COVID experience or just leaving your home or domestic water that's available through your utility. Plumbing is a key component.
Yeah, I'm just so excited to have the opportunity to share that message that you just said. This is an important industry. These workers are absolutely essential, and y'all got me, really almost tearing up several times during this call about thinking about our children and what they're learning now, and raising them up to understand that. So thank you for today. I look forward to the next one, and yeah, I'll make sure to send you all of this information of where you can find it.
Thank you for working with Brian to corral us all today.
Yes.
Getting this set up, and we'd love to do more. Just let us know.
Awesome. Thank you.